Welcome to Why Wait? Look better, feel better, be your best from the inside out with me, Georgette LePage. Tune in each month as Dr. Pat Baccili and I discuss topics that are often seen as roadblocks to weight loss. Each discussion will offer you practical solutions for transformational changes. Being healthy doesn't have to be hard or impossible. Empowering yourself with new strategies and new ideas can jumpstart your healthy journey and bring forth a tidal wave of joyful, positive results. I live and breathe what I teach. Allow me to be living proof of what can work for you. Your brain is your best asset, so you'll learn how to take charge of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Are you ready for the real results you want? We'll see you there.
Hey, everybody. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. I've been so excited to introduce you to Georgette LePage. And the reason that I'm so excited to do that is I've gotten to work with her both at a personal level and professional level to help her prep for her debut show today. And one of the things I love is that when you get to meet people and get to understand where their passion is, what their purpose is about, you know, what makes them live and breathe, you know, the breath of joy and inspiration. When you learn that about people, it gets really exciting when they agree to take their message out. Today, you are all tuning in to the first of a series we're doing, Why Wait? W-E-I-G-H-T or W-A-I-T, whatever you want. Because what Georgette does is, you know, this is about helping people look better, feel better, and be your best from the inside out. That is the thing. That's the essence of her coaching practice. It's exactly what she teaches. She is living proof. You're going to hear about that today. She's a certified health and life coach and empowers women from all over the world. But the question really is, and we're going to dig really deeply into it, do each of us have the strategies we need today to live, breathe, and be the person we want to be or become the person we want to become, whether that's in your money, whether that's in your career, whether that's your body, it doesn't matter. Today, you're going to hear what she helped me do. You're going to hear it. And you're probably going to think, Benny's going to probably laugh a little bit, but you're probably going to think, what was so hard about that? Well, we'll talk about it. Today, stay tuned. How to jumpstart your health. Georgette, great to have you. Exciting, right?
Thank you. I am so excited today, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to meet more people and to talk to more people.
Look, here's what I love. You know, it's one thing to be able to talk to people. It's another thing to be able to see things in action. And I want to talk about one word and really get your take on it, because it is a word that even if people don't say it out loud, because I don't know about you, but in the New Thought community, and especially in my spiritual community, if I ever say this word about myself, somebody is jumping in, doing some spiritual practice or something to really overturn that. But I can't do this show without saying it. Overwhelm. All right, raise your hand, y'all out there. Come on, put it up. Like, just squinch it like even if you're like because it's a feeling. It's not just a word, but if you say that word, like in a room full of women, how many of you women you think you're feeling overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big word. It's a word sometimes that people just throw around a little lightly, but it is a big part of our life nowadays, especially after what we've all been through in the last 2 years almost. So yeah, overwhelm is, you know, when you feel like you have a pile of laundry dumped on top of you and you don't know where to begin to get out of something. It's the feeling of there's so much here. What do I do? Where do I start? It's also when there's a lot of information thrown at you, which we have so much available to us nowadays, much more than we ever did. And sometimes it's too much. We don't know what to listen to. We don't know what to believe. What do I read? I read this, then I read the opposite there. It's just so much. It's an overload. And when you're trying to be healthy and start your health journey, oftentimes what keeps you stuck is simply not knowing where to start.
Yeah. And it is overwhelming. I think, let's just have a chat for a minute about where we are sort of with the state of what's been happening to people. And I want to talk about women, especially for a moment. It doesn't exclude men. So I just want to be very clear. It doesn't exclude men. But these past 2 years have been really difficult in a lot of ways. I can't talk about men because I don't work with men. So I can only reference women. But that's not true. I work with one man. But the point is this: we have this feeling that it feels like it just showed up, right? Like 2.5 years, but it feels like it's just showed up. But in reality, it didn't just show up. And now we have to figure out, without beating ourselves up, geez, I wish I would have exercised more. Geez, I wish I would have cooked more for my kids. Geez, I mean, how many women do you work with that have that scenario? I wish I could have, Georgette.
All of them. Every single person goes through that when I start working with them, when I start meeting them and listening. And that comes up 100% of the time. And, it just piles on a lot of different things. It piles on some regret. It piles on being discouraged. It piles on, I now am stuck. What do I do? And it piles on a little defeat because people just figure, oh, forget it. I'm too far in. I'm too far gone. I've tried everything and nothing's going to work for me. So there's a lot of defeating negative talk that goes on. And put all these things together, and it's a pretty big recipe for not doing anything for yourself.
Yeah. And, I love the way you approach this because, we're talking about shifting behavior, maybe changing patterns and habits. I was speaking with a family not too long ago who hired me to help them. And, there are very few things that I say to myself, or I say, you know what, I'm not the right coach for you, or I can't help you with that. And this was really interesting because the levels of addiction that we're experiencing now, people don't even know what that's about. Isn't that part of it, that we get addicted to certain behaviors? Ask somebody that's addicted to their cell phone and they can't put it away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that leads to a lot of things. And it's, when I work with people, we're working on changing habits. So they become automatic patterns of behavior that you don't have to spend so much brain power trying to figure out every single time. It's part of your wiring. We're rewiring, reframing, flipping. People come to me and sometimes they are so unsure about who they are, what they want, where they want to go. And, it looks like they have it kind of going on together on the outside. The package looks great. And I'm shocked sometimes because it starts on the inside. And that's one of my biggest messages. So you can change everything about the outside, make it all what you want, but it won't do you any good if you don't start on the inside and change your thinking and change how you talk to yourself.
I love this. I want to ask you this question because a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, especially what I discovered in working with you, and having you coach me, one of the things that I learned is the hardest thing is to where to begin. Where do you begin with your overwhelm? And, a lot of times we want to put a label on our overwhelm, as if it's in a category of something, but it is enough just to recognize that that's the way you feel. Then the next step is, this is daunting. Where do I begin? How do you help folks get beyond that moment of, I don't even know where to start, Georgette?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's what I love so much about what I do, because each person is different. Each person comes with different ways they want to improve. Each person comes with, their own set of experiences. And so when someone comes to me, I really, really listen. And I have them tell me, first of all, where are you right now? What's going on with you? Where do you want to go? And, you know, do you know who you are? Who do you want to be? And people are shocked right at that moment, because I think we label ourselves. You said a really great word. We label ourselves, we let other people label us. And that's just our identity. And we never really give ourselves the chance to change or to try something else. So when people come to me, coaching is listening, and it's active accountability, and it's helping people figure out all the puzzle pieces that are inside. They know what to do. They just need to talk it out and have someone guide them and be accountable, help them be accountable. So it's not therapy or coaching. We don't dive into the past. We talk about what has worked in the past and maybe some things that haven't worked, but we put that in boxes, little compartments, and behind us as experience, which is important, but we don't dwell there. When you're driving a car, you look ahead. You look in the rear view mirror just a tiny bit, but we're going forward. So the whole premise for your progress is, where are you now and where are you going? So once someone starts talking it out and you just listen and you let them like spill it all out, it becomes like little parts that I just categorize and help walk people through. And that's how we start. Because the biggest thing I hear when I start, to ask people some questions is, I've never thought of that.
Right.
Or I never talked to anybody about this. Or, gosh, no one listens to me. So that's where we start.
Yeah, it's really interesting in so many ways. And, we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. We're going to take a short break. But the question really is, and I think this is one of the things you ask us to ask ourselves is, what does my future self look like? Can we even take a moment to look at that? And then, part of that is when you see yourself out there, you immediately compare yourself to where you are. And, there are so many different things you can feel or think based on that. I'm never going to get there. Too old, too this, not enough of this. It's not real for me. I mean, there's so many things. But there are also so many other possibilities. When we come back, I would love to talk with you about how you work with people to help them go from that rabbit hole. Thank you, Jefferson Airplane. That rabbit hole that you could go down. Grace Slick, you gotta love that. You just had to love Grace Slick. Come on. Yeah. And that song is being played over and over and over again. But how do you get from taking that first step that gets you on that spiral down there? And maybe you're already down there, but how do you hold on to the future vision you want? That's what Georgette LePage does. We're going to take a short break, everybody. When we come back, she's got a major question for you. Major question that you're going to have to answer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you, Benny. Thank you so much for that. That used to be the mantra of most of us that were teenage kids back in that day. Knew all the words, could sing along, didn't even understand half of what it meant. But even now that we hear that song in our pop culture, played in The Matrix and a bunch of other movies, we still don't know what she meant. But that's okay. Does anybody know what Jimi Hendrix meant? But we loved him, right?
That's
oh my
right.
gosh. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Why Wait? WEIGHT, but also Why Wait? Look better, feel better, be your best. Georgette LePage joining me here today. Georgette, you have a fantastic coaching practice. And I want to take a moment before you ask us a burning question. Everybody get ready for this question. And how do people find out about you? How do they work with you? Could you give out some information, please?
Absolutely. My website is georgettelepage.com. I'm also on Instagram at glepage7. And you can find me on Facebook at Georgette LePage Life Coaching, Health and Life Coaching, actually. And my website actually is probably the best place to go because it has all of that information rolled into one place. I do work with individuals one-on-one. I also work with some groups, and I'm finding my way into seminars. I've done a couple of those, and those are a great way to get people together to learn. And also, workplace wellness has a special place in my heart. And that is also a direction where I'm headed into. And I write for Brains Magazine too. And I'm just doing all the things to find people that need what I have to offer. And I just love it. And it's great how things grow. And so this also is a dream come true, to be here and to get my message out to as many people as I can. And I'll be so successful today when at least one person picks one thing that I offer and said and starts it right away. That will make me a very happy person.
I love it. I love this next question you're about to ask, because I get to work with you on a regular basis, and I can't, now that I'm stable back now that you know what I mean, I'm not traveling. I'm thinking I'm not going to have to go back. As I've said to the audience, we've had a death in our family, and it's still a little bit unpredictable. But what's not unpredictable is having a set point for me. And you've helped me with that quite a bit. And later on in the show, I'm going to tell people something very specific you helped me with. But you have a question that I know that you ask people, and I would encourage people to please answer this honestly. And if they cannot, they can call you. But let's talk about what that question is.
Yeah, this is a big question. And just one little disclaimer. I have done all of this work myself. So everything that I offer is tested out on myself. And I have learned over the years. I had a wonderful life. I had a very, oh my gosh, extraordinary upbringing. I'm the oldest of 6 children. Love my parents to death. They are amazing. And everything was lovely, but I'm a regular person. And I struggled with how I treated myself, how I thought of myself, just like a lot of, females throughout the years, males too, but I have that experience as a female. So my biggest question that I will ask somebody pretty early on, sometimes even before we start working, because I usually like to have a little 30-minute talk with someone to make sure we're a right fit for each other, is to ask yourself the question, how am I treating myself right now? I ask the question and then I wait. And I usually get some silence, which is good. Silence is okay. And then people just confess. People just are very real to say, usually, not very well. I'm at the bottom of the list. I haven't thought about my health in a long time. I'm too busy. Yeah. It's not that important. Other people, come first. So it all starts coming out, which helps me to kind of steer them into looking at that a bit further, because that is a huge piece of how you start to change habits.
I love that you're asking this question, because it really is like a tapestry. It's like a weave. And, one of the things that I want to ask you about is sometimes we can't get out the answer. That's the answer. That's the answer, right? What am I trying to say? Underneath it all, there are a lot of answers, but then there is an answer, right? And when that happens, that's a revelation. And I was telling somebody during a show the other day, I had a conversation with you. I don't know how many months ago, but it started me to think about something. And what it revealed to me was, through a series of things, is it made me really look, especially when I was looking at your website, getting ready to help you with the show and stuff. And it made me realize that part of this treating myself right now is to be informed about what I'm paying attention to or not. And that experience helped me realize that I was taking a nerve blocker Nerve blockers are good. Like you got a surgery like I did, and your nerves are acting up, so they got to be fixed. But I didn't do my homework on it. I didn't do my homework. I very good when it comes to medical stuff. I'm like Googling it, and I'm like WebMD and all that, but I didn't do it. I'm not surprised. There are many women and men that have gone through 2.5 years that normally would have done X, and they just couldn't get to it. So one of the things that's so important I'd like you to talk to is, now that was a situation that didn't come from me looking at that. But what happened to me was my body was changing and I wasn't doing anything different. And when you ask the question, how am I treating myself right now? Self and introspective and self examination and awareness, isn't that part of it too? And we pretty much stopped that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're so busy in our society that we just keep going. We keep rolling. We go from one meeting to the next. We bring kids here and there. We have meals on the run. And I'm just kind of, not everybody, but this is like how it feels.
I don't even have kids and I bring them. So, so I totally understand, because we're all helping each other out.
Exactly. We're go, go, go. And we forget that we have our mind and our body to take care of. And we probably weren't designed for the lifestyle that we currently lead in this world that's so fast and so rushed and so mindless sometimes, that we are worth stepping back, looking at it through a different lens, talking with someone that can maybe see something or ask something that we're just not aware of, and giving ourselves permission to say, you know what, I'd like something different. I'd like a different way. I'd like to feel differently inside. And I certainly might like to look differently on the outside. So it's a package deal. And I think that's huge, because we just keep going. I've done it myself, and I catch myself and I'm like, wait a minute, the day's over and I don't even know what I did. Or, I've just gone to 4 places. I don't even remember getting there. I mean, we're so caught up.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of it is we stop thinking, and I'm gonna, take a break a little bit later, Benny, because I want to just keep this rolling. By working with someone, when working with you in particular, what I've discovered is I usually leave a conversation with you with more questions than answers, which is good. If you work with a coach, I'm a coach, so I know. And I have coaches that coach me in other areas of my life. And I know that if I get off a call with somebody and I just think it's all good and don't even think about it, that is not a good experience. And so part of what this does and the way you approach things is you ask people to think about things that will pop up over time. And one of the things I think you also talk about is, and this is a question, no, we don't know our brain is our best asset, but that is part of your coaching program. That is part what you help people with, because that thought, what have I done differently to cause my body to be reacting in a way it's never reacted in my entire life? And, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, that's age. No, it's not. Hello. No, it doesn't happen like that overnight, people. But I started to think. And then, of course, my best friend's a triple Virgo. So everything goes into a list. What are you doing that you did before and what you didn't? And there was one thing. There was one thing that I had started to take. Yeah. And it's a medication, and it's called gabapentin. And I didn't do my homework on it. And then I did. And what I found, the stories of the side effects, not for everybody, most people don't get them. But the stories about people and gaining a pound a day, and learning that when you block your nerves, you block them all, your endocrine system, that in itself was eye-opening. So I want to ask you, as we think about this, we have to remember that. And we don't, because if you're in panic, we're not in peace. Help us with this. Help us talk about how we move from negative stories, beating myself up. I should have done this better. I should have called my doctor. By the way, I called my doctor immediately and I said, we're off of that thing. It takes about a month, they tell me, to get it out of your system. But how do we go from not beating ourselves up, right, to knowing that we're worth treating ourselves right, and that what's up here is an asset?
Yeah, absolutely. Your brain is your best asset. And it takes some of us longer than others to realize that, but better late than never, for sure. And once you make that flip in your thinking, you are now empowered to decide what you think. We don't decide necessarily what happens to us. That's a circumstance for sure. But we do get to decide how we think about it, and then how we feel about it, and then how we act about it. Those are on us. So there's a ton of empowerment once you realize that it's how you choose to think about things. Okay. For example, I used to get on the scale. I called it the tail of the scale, because I am a roller coaster person, not much as much anymore, but I used to be that girl who looked great on the outside to everybody else, but those maybe 5 to 10 pounds that I knew exactly where they were, that just consumed me. And I'd go up and down and up and down. People may not have even known it, but it consumed me. So once I started my tail of the scale, as I call it, and realized that, okay, to weigh myself to see how much I actually weigh in mass, I'm going to stand on this piece of metal and it's going to give me a number. It used to be a terrorizing thing. If it was a great number and I liked it, my family was super happy. We had a great day. If it wasn't, they hid from me. I'm serious.
No, I get it. I think that's the way my staff feels about me.
So once I thought, this is not serving me anymore. This is a number. This is feedback on how I'm doing other things, how I'm eating, how I'm exercising, how I'm, thinking. Let me look at it differently. So now it's a number. Okay, that matches the things that I'm writing down that I just realized I did. Okay, not the best week, maybe. I did this, this, and this. All right. That's okay. Let's get back on. I don't have to go down the black hole of despair. I don't have to throw everything away. I don't have to say never mind and make it worse. It's up here. I decide how I'm going to look at something. And it's not foolproof. It takes a lot of work. And I've even, had my own husband sometimes, love him. He'll say, wait a second. Is that how you'd have somebody else think? And so I'm like, oh, no. So you have to constantly train your brain. You have to give yourself permission to try a different way to think. Okay, so we have those circumstances. Those come at us. I describe it to several clients. It's like beach balls or pounding us. And it's how we handle them. Do we let them smack us or do we kind of push back? I always like to give visuals to my clients because a lot of people like to have something to compare it to. And so it's really in your mind. And again, it's choosing how you're going to have these thoughts serve you. Is something you can make up stories. We all make up chatter pretty well. I'm a master chatter creator. So it's really getting used to, okay, how am I going to think about this? Let's look at this. Here's what I automatically want to think. How can I flip this to be a bit more realistic and serve me?
Yeah. Part of this is, and we're going to take a short break and come back and talk about it, but part of this is, working with an advocate. And, you are a coach, you're certified. I mean, I just gave out a little bit about your credentials a minute ago, but you're a certified health and life coach. And what that means to be a certified health and life coach, it's broader. It looks at the whole person, but then it also includes the body. right?
Yeah.
And that's something that's so important, because when you have to face yourself with a person that is definitive like you and kind, and all about action, right? That's what I love, action.
Yeah.
Something shifts, something changes. So when we come back from break, we're going to look at, when can you start? What does starting look like? And I have an interesting story to share. And then Georgette's going to take you on a journey on how reframing can go from despair to repair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Despise to inspire,
Yeah.
and how you go from surviving to thriving, because that's what this is about. Everyone listening to this show, if you have been beating yourself up about your body, about your life, about work, but especially about you, the way you see yourself. If you see yourself less than pure perfection, you're going to want to do some work. And when we come back, Georgette's going to tell you a bit about how she does this work and what you can expect. I got a great story to share. Let's take a short break, Benny. We'll be right back with Georgette LePage. Welcome back, everyone. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on today. So thrilled to be talking with all of you, introducing you to an amazing coach, Georgette LePage, how to jumpstart your health. But her show is Why Wait, Look Better, Feel Better, Be Your Best from the Inside Out. And, you're going to hear more about how this works. Today, we're going to talk to you and are talking to you about what you can do right now and how you can do it. And I'll tell you that part of what I shared during the show is, a result of the work I've been doing with Georgette to get my brain to think differently, right? But then once your brain does think differently, what do you do? What do you do? Do you make an adjustment? And what's fascinating about this is you learn about micro adjustments. And so today, Georgette, I want to, before we really jump into, look, what do you do? What can you do? And I'm just going to wrap up with the end of this story. How do people get a hold of you? Can we tell them again?
Yes. The best place to find me is at my website, georgettelepage.com. And on there has everything. It has my Instagram, it has my Facebook, it has, this podcast on there, and a whole bunch of things. There's a lot of free content on there too, because I do a weekly blog. I want you to take as much of my stuff as you can. I'll be so excited if you find one thing, at least one thing. And I'll show you in a second how what you could do with that one thing. Yeah, but please come and check me out. I want you to get all you can from me. And if you want to work with me, there's easy way there to contact me. And we'll see if we're a good fit. That'd be great.
I want to say to everybody, you can see the certifications and, that Georgette has gotten, but it's even more than that. It really has to do with when somebody says yes to their passion and purpose, and then that is in service of other people. That's what we're talking about. Look, I want to just spend a few seconds here just to say this. How I got from that discovery about 6 weeks ago with that particular medication, how did I get from there to actually going out and playing a sport I love? Now, I have a robot, not the same thing. And definitely not without Linda, right? In the summer, it's great. That's one thing. Robots don't talk to you. But regardless of how I was feeling about myself, and regardless about some other life circumstances that showed up very unexpectedly, the loss of a family member and a couple of other things, how did I get to actually take myself to the court? Now, a lot of people may be saying, what's the big deal? It is a big deal. But isn't that what you're talking about? It's great to have this go on. It's great to get yourself at a place of peace. But then we got to do something. Let's talk about how we can start better habits today.
Yeah, that's great. And here's some really great news. You don't need to do everything all at once.
Yeah, I
You
didn't.
might not know what to do. You might not know where to start, but you only really have to start with one small step. Because if you were to think of yourself standing at the bottom of a staircase and looking up at a very, very tall staircase, I'm pretty sure you don't get to the top in one big bionic leap. I'm pretty sure you go step by step by step until you get to the very top.
Rocky
And your
even had to
health,
do that.
yeah, well, your health is the same way. It's one thing at a time. Also, one thing I love to say to people is also when you learn some great habits in about one thing, maybe about your weight, you transfer them into other parts of your life too. There's that saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you'll be very surprised by the ripple effect of doing one small thing first. And then you actually get energized, you get motivated. So it's like, it's just like taking one little bite at a time.
Yeah.
And one step, one bite, and there you go. So you just need to talk it out with somebody or write it out on paper. Most of us are visual. So if you are someone that likes to see the reality of what's going on, you might want to make yourself a list. My mom taught me when I was little to do something called a stress circle. Take a piece of paper, put a big circle, and everything that's in your brain that's overwhelming you or bothering you or stressing you, put it out right in front of you. Put it all there. And when you look at that, chances are there are things on there that you can reason through that, gosh, that's not really worth my energy to stress about, or wow, that's a big one and that's been on there for about 2 months now, so let's do some action steps to take care of that. And you just walk yourself through that process. If you have goals, you can do the same thing. Put it on a list. We can't do everything at one time. Pick one thing, just one thing. And then once you pick what it is that your goal is, then you take your small steps to get there. So if you're looking to, completely change your eating and everything in a week, that's not realistic. So you have to be realistic. And I'm the voice of reason when you work with me, to say, all right, let's make an end goal. Let's make a long-term goal, and let's do all these goals in between to get you there, so that things don't seem impossible, because that's when we get discouraged, is when it's too much.
Mhm. One of the things that I love that idea of putting everything down and putting it on paper and putting it in a circle. It's so important. One of the things I want to also ask you about too is, we can look at things and make small changes. And the thing that I love about this is, I didn't get from there to here. I started by research. I started by inquiry. I started to look at what is going on. And that is so important. If I go back to what we started with, right? Where do you begin when you're overwhelmed? Maybe there's information you have to get, even on the scariest things that you can imagine, right? Maybe it's
Exactly.
simply getting the information you need, and you start that process. And doesn't that process in itself help close the gap between fear and faith?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To get information and to be informed is your responsibility. And let me tell you, when you take the efforts to be a learner, you grow. And you don't have to know everything about everything. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're interested in, for example, how to move a little bit more. I'm not saying you have to go run a marathon, but how do I move around? How do I become more active? Well, start doing some research on that. Pick something you like. We do so much
Yeah.
better when we pick something that you like. I once worked with someone, and she said, I don't like, I want to eat better, but I don't like salad. I don't like lettuce. And I said, okay. She said, but I eat a lot of it. And she kept saying, I don't like it. And I kept listening. And I said, why are you eating lettuce? She said, well, it's good for you. I said, well, why are you eating lettuce? And she said, I don't know. I don't like it. So sometimes it's just reasoning there are other vegetables. There are
Right.
many other vegetables. So if the light bulb went on, she said, I cannot believe I've wasted all this time eating something I didn't even like.
Yeah.
So she picked something else and she solved her vegetable problem. But had she just kept going automatically without thinking,
Yeah.
we do that. We're so good at that, aren't we?
Yeah. I just went through the same thing with lettuce, because what I realized, I mean, I don't not like it, but it wouldn't be my first choice. And what I realized is I really like chopped vegetables as a salad, like and I've got like a chopper, like chop broccoli and chop bok choy, and whatever that is for the day,
Yeah.
right? You chop them up, and I use oil and vinegar. And I realized it's okay to do something like that, right?
Yes.
But all the voices tell us you're supposed
Mhm.
to eat 5 salads a week. Why are you eating your salad? I mean, and we get so conditioned. Didn't we go through that with the whole no fat craze,
Oh,
right? I mean, we
yes.
were so conditioned, especially as women, that even to this day, it is hard to buy something with fat and actually eat it, because that conditioning for us just was such a beautiful marketing campaign, by the way, brilliant about it. But we realized, now we know that is not really the solution. Don't we have to find what works for us?
That is the key. Finding what works for you. If you like to go walking and that gets you outside and fresh air, vitamin D, and that you enjoy it, then go ahead. You don't
Yeah.
have to run. You don't have to do the indoor bike. You don't have to go to a gym. Do what you like, right? You have choices. I see that all the time. And, someone will say, well, I'm eating, you know, these cookies because they're low fat. And we went through that with Snackwells and all of the things. And we all thought it was the greatest thing and all the artificial sweeteners. And then we found out so much later, but we're conditioned. And a lot of things are marketed to us pretty brilliantly, for sure. So it's our responsibility to take control of our own health, and to see that as experience. It's in a storage box. I'm learning my lesson. Here I am today. What can I do for my body today? Because your body's not the same. It's not designed to be the same as it was before. It's a wonderful creation. And the question is, how are you treating it? What are you doing with it?
And I love this. One of the things that I want to ask you about is, this idea of loving ourselves enough, or even liking ourselves enough to try to put ourselves first. And, that's tough. I mean, I have a best friend who is the oldest. My sister was the oldest. I understand what that means and what that means for them and what they've gone through. But there is a part of this that if we don't learn how to reprioritize, right? Especially people, then we never really get to the thing, right? I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, putting your business first. And I got to tell you, I'd love for you to talk about this, because we're now starting to get numbers and statistics. And one of the things that's out there for women and women of color now, the latest statistic is out about them as well, is men coaches that coach you on business. I know because I have one, will always say you need to pay yourself first. The studies say we don't. We will go without pay a year and not pay ourselves and think that that is the way you do business as an entrepreneur. You pay everybody else. My business coach said to me, you need a different coach to help you with your thinking. But where would we have learned that, Georgette? Right? Where would we have learned that? I mean, so I want to thank you for today. Please let people know again. And I'd like to know your personal message, because even with that knowledge, we've got to be able to master that, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And, as we go through the year with different shows, we'll be covering a lot of these very important topics. It's going to kind of be like a storyline. So please make sure to tell people about us and everything so that we can keep like giving you all of these little, parts to the story. But it's just my biggest message today would be to put yourself first, put your oxygen mask on first, so that you can then be in the best position to take care of other people. But when your tank is empty at the end of the day and you've got nothing to give, you and then everyone else suffer. So please, if you picked up one thing today, it's putting yourself first, and it's not selfish at all. It is very important. And I would love for you to think of yourself as worthy and worth it. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I can't thank you enough. And, we hear this a lot, Georgette, don't we? I mean, you get on an airplane and boy, I'll tell you, I've been traveling a little bit and I've spent more time sitting on airplanes waiting for them to get off the runway. But the one thing is consistent on an airplane. It's the same talk. You put on your mask first. You do that. Don't worry about the person sitting over here. And when you ask people, they find it as one of the most difficult things to do, especially if there is a mom or dad sitting next to a child. But that is the same magical message for people today, isn't it?
Absolutely. And your health will change once your thinking changes around that you are worth being top on your list, and taking care of yourself. And that's up to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for today. I love the fact that you mentioned that we will be crafting and weaving a story. Yeah. And the story is in line with our theme, 2022. It's all about you, the new you, the renewed you. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
The you that loves you. Georgette LePage, everybody. I'm Dr. Pat. Georgette, thank you for a great show. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for personally coaching me and helping me, because I'm now up to playing 2 times a week.
Yay. So proud.
Still not beating Howard. Just saying.
Yeah.
But it feels so good. And I got used to wearing a mask. Right. I found the right mask.
Yeah.
The way to do it. Yeah. Figured it out. So that excuse was something I had to look at too. Georgette LePage, she's here to help. Great series we have with her, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Benny, Jacob, Olivia. Thank you all. You're the best audience on the planet. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. You've been listening to Why Wait? Look better, feel better, be your best from the inside out with me, Georgette LePage. Tune in each month as Dr. Pat Baccili and I tackle topics that are often seen as roadblocks for weight loss. Being healthy doesn't have to be hard or impossible. This show leaves you feeling empowered with new strategies and ideas to jumpstart your new health journey. If you're interested in finding out more about me, visit georgettelepage.com.